Jar Jar Binks, the Darth Jar Jar theory. For years, fans argued that Jar Jar Binks wasn't just comic relief in The Phantom Menace, but was actually a trained Force user working alongside Palpatine. The evidence seemed compelling. Jar Jar used subtle hand waves before characters agreed with him, performed impossible physical feats, and directly facilitated Palpatine's rise to power by calling for the vote that gave him emergency authority. In 2015, actor Ahmed Best confirmed on Twitter that Jar Jar was indeed supposed to be revealed as a Sith collaborator. George Lucas had planned a major twist, where the bumbling Gungan was manipulating events all along, but after the backlash to The Phantom Menace, the storyline was completely abandoned. Best revealed that the character's exaggerated movements were meant to hide Force suggestions, and his survival in battles was intentional foreshadowing. The theory fans mocked for years turned out to be exactly what Lucas had scripted. Count Dooku was hastily created to fill the villain role that Jar Jar was supposed to occupy. Snowpiercer train. The Snowpiercer Willy Wonka theory. Fans noticed disturbing parallels between Bong Joon-ho's 2013 dystopian film and the 1971 musical. Both feature a mysterious train or factory owner testing candidates to find a successor. Both include children meeting gruesome fates as moral lessons, and both end with the protagonist being offered control of the entire operation. Director Bong Joon-ho confirmed in a 2014 interview with MTV that he intentionally designed Wilford as an older, darker version of Willy Wonka. He stated the film was partly inspired by wondering what Wonka would become if he ran a closed ecosystem for decades. The production design deliberately echoed the factory's colorful compartments, and Ed Harris studied Gene Wilder's mannerisms for his performance. Even the protein blocks in Snowpiercer mirror the grotesque candy of the original factory. What seemed like an internet joke was actually the director's explicit creative intent. King Candy, the Turbo identity twist in Wreck-It Ralph. Before the 2012 film's release, fans analyzing trailers theorized that King Candy was actually Turbo, the racer from the backstory who caused a game to be unplugged. They pointed to similar design elements, voice patterns, and the fact that Sugar Rush didn't exist during Turbo's era. Director Rich Moore confirmed this wasn't meant to be a mystery, but acknowledged fans solved it early through careful observation. What made the theory creepy once confirmed was the implication. Turbo didn't just invade Sugar Rush, he completely overwrote King Candy's code, essentially murdering the original character and wearing his identity. The other racers had their memories altered, and Vanellope was transformed into a glitch, trapped in a game where everyone forgot she was supposed to be the main character. The film treats this as digital body horror. Turbo literally consumed another person's existence and made an entire world forget its true history. Coraline's escape. The Coraline never escaped theory. Readers and viewers notice that after Coraline returns from the other world, several details seem off. The garden at the end forms a pattern of the other mother's face. Her parents don't remember being trapped, and the cat who couldn't speak in the real world earlier now vanishes mysteriously. In interviews, Neil Gaiman gave ambiguous responses when asked directly if Coraline truly escaped. In a 2016 talk, he said the story allows for the interpretation that the other mother is patient and simply waiting, having created a more elaborate trap. He confirmed he intentionally included details suggesting the real world Coraline returns to might be another layer of the other mother's web. The button-eyed doll was destroyed, but Gaiman noted in the book that the other mother's hand survived, still searching. He stated the ending is deliberately written to support either interpretation, but has acknowledged the darker reading is textually valid. Syndrome's death wish. The Incredibles theory about Syndrome's final plan. Fans noticed that Syndrome's scheme made no logical sense for his survival. He would release the Omnidroid to attack the city, then show up to defeat it with his remote control, making himself a hero. But the robot was programmed to become self-aware and kill anyone controlling it. The theory suggested Syndrome knew this and was planning a form of elaborate self-inflicted harm after achieving his goal of destroying the concept of special people. Director Brad Bird confirmed in DVD commentary that this was intentionally written into the character. Syndrome's entire arc is about a child whose hero worship was rejected, leading to a philosophy of making everyone super so that no one would be. Bird stated that Syndrome's plan was meant to end with his own destruction, taking the last true supers with him. The robot turning on him wasn't a flaw, it was the point. Syndrome wanted to die as the last special person after making specialness meaningless. GLaDOS Caroline. The Portal theory about GLaDOS's human origin. Players of the first Portal game theorized that the murderous AI was once human, possibly the Caroline mentioned in Aperture Science's history. Evidence included GLaDOS's distinctly human personality, her emotional responses, and references to a time before she was an AI. Portal 2 explicitly confirmed this in 2011. Caroline was Cave Johnson's assistant, and after his death from moonrock poisoning, she was uploaded into the GLaDOS system against her will. Her final words before before the upload were begging not to be transformed. The confirmation made the theory horrifying rather than intriguing. GLaDOS isn't a malfunctioning AI, she's a human consciousness trapped in a machine, forced to run testing protocols for decades, while aware of what she's lost. Her murderous behavior stems from being imprisoned in a digital hell. The personality cores attached to her weren't additions. They were attempts to suppress Caroline's consciousness and make her compliant. Spirited Away metaphor. The spirited away prostitution theory. Western audiences debated whether Miyazaki's bathhouse was metaphorical, but the theory suggested Yubaba was trafficking workers, and the entire story represented Japan's historical sex trade. Miyazaki confirmed this in multiple Japanese interviews that weren't widely translated until years later. In a 2016 interview translated by Studio Ghibli International, he explicitly stated the bathhouse was based on traditional Japanese brothels disguised as bathhouses. Yubaba stealing names represents how workers in that industry were forced to abandon their identities, the spirits paying for services, workers being trapped by contracts, and Chihiro's parents being transformed for consuming what wasn't theirs, all tied to this metaphor. No Face offering gold for attention directly parallels client behavior. Miyazaki said he wanted to show a child navigating a world of adult exploitation while maintaining innocence. The film is deliberately about a girl trapped in a system designed to break her identity and force her into service. By the way, if you're finding this interesting, I post videos like this all the time. I'd really appreciate if you subscribed. Ursula's Banishment, the Little Mermaid theory, about Ursula being Triton's sister. Fans noticed that Ursula was the only character who called Triton by name rather than title, seemed to know palace layouts intimately, and possessed similar magical abilities. The theory suggested they were siblings, and Ursula was banished from Atlantica. Disney directors confirmed this was in early drafts of the 1989 film. Ursula was originally Triton's sister, who was exiled for using dark magic. The directors revealed this in DVD commentary, explaining that Ursula's entire motivation was revenge against her brother for taking the throne that she believed was partly hers. Her Garden of Polyps represents former citizens of Atlantica who opposed her claim. The reason she specifically targets Ariel isn't random cruelty, it's familial revenge. She wants to destroy Triton by taking his daughter and then using Ariel's contract to claim the throne herself. The sisterhood was cut from the final film for time, but it remained in Ursula's characterization, and the stage musical later restored it explicitly. Gaston's murder attempt. The Beauty and the Beast theory about Gaston intentionally abandoning Maurice to die. In the 1991 film, Gaston finds Maurice in the woods and leaves him tied to a tree, with wolves approaching. The theory argued this wasn't just cruelty, but attempted murder to eliminate the obstacle to marrying Belle. Disney animators confirmed this interpretation in behind-the-scenes features from the 2010 Blu-ray release. The scene was storyboarded, with Gaston explicitly aware that leaving Maurice meant his death. Animator Andreas Deja stated that Gaston knows exactly what he's doing and chooses Maurice's death over simply escorting him back to town. The wolves in the scene aren't accidental. They're shown stalking Maurice earlier, and Gaston sees them before he leaves. This makes Gaston not just a vain antagonist, but someone willing to commit murder for social advancement. The theory was disturbing because it reframed a Disney villain as someone who calmly commits premeditated acts that would result in someone's death. Up Afterlife Journey. The Up Death theory. Fans proposed that Carl dies in his sleep at the beginning of the film when construction workers confront him, and everything afterward is his journey through the afterlife to reunite with Ellie. Evidence includes the house floating on clouds, Russell appearing like an angel earning his wings, and Paradise Falls representing heaven. Director Pete Docter addressed this theory in a 2012 interview with the Huffington Post. He stated that while Carl doesn't literally die, the film is intentionally about a symbolic death and rebirth. Docter confirmed they included visual metaphors for the afterlife deliberately, saying the journey represents Carl letting go of his earthly attachments. He acknowledged that reading the film as Carl's actual death works thematically and wasn't discouraged during production. The balloons releasing at the end mirror a soul departing, and Carl leaving his house behind represents accepting mortality. Docter said the theory captures what they intended emotionally, even if not literally. Emperor's Dark Science. The Palpatine created Anakin theory. Star Wars fans theorized that Palpatine used the Force to manipulate midi-chlorians and create Anakin Skywalker, making him responsible for his own eventual downfall. The evidence came from Palpatine's story about Darth Plagueis manipulating life itself and Anakin's virgin birth. This was confirmed in the 2017 Darth Vader comic series issue 25. The comic shows Vader using the Force to probe Palpatine's memories, revealing that Palpatine learned from Plagueis and used Sith alchemy to influence Anakin's mother, Shmi. Matt Martin from the Lucasfilm Story Group confirmed on Twitter that this was official canon. The implication is that Palpatine created the Chosen One specifically to corrupt him, manufacturing the weapon that would destroy the Jedi. Anakin's entire existence was a Sith experiment. Every choice he made was influenced by being born from dark side manipulation rather than natural conception. Toy Story's horror, the toy sentience theory. Fans ask the disturbing question of when toys become sentient in the Toy Story universe. Do they awaken the moment they're manufactured, meaning they're conscious in dark boxes during shipping? Are they aware in stores, watching children choose other toys? Pixar writer Andrew Stanton confirmed in a 2010 interview that toys do become sentient at the point of manufacture. This means Woody and Buzz were conscious and trapped before Andy owned them. Stanton stated this was an intentional horror element they decided not to explore in the films. Toys in stores are alive, watching, hoping to be chosen, and those left unsold face an existential nightmare. The Toy Story 2 sequence where Jessie is donated wasn't just sad, it represented a conscious being, experiencing abandonment by the person they loved. Stanton acknowledged this makes the entire universe deeply unsettling when examined closely, comparing it to becoming aware of your own eventual obsolescence. Scar's true name, the Lion King Scar. Origin theory. Fans noted that Scar couldn't be the character's birth name, and theorized about his real identity and how he received his injury. This was confirmed in multiple tie-in materials and acknowledged by directors. The 2015 book A Tale of Two Brothers revealed Scar's birth name was Taka, meaning garbage in Swahili, while his brother Mufasa's name meant king. Director Rob Minkoff confirmed in interviews that Scar was the younger brother who resented being considered lesser from birth. The scar itself came from a confrontation with a water buffalo that Scar provoked to prove himself, and afterward, he demanded everyone call him by his injury rather than his shameful birth name. This recontextualized the entire film. Scar's villainy stems from a lifetime of being treated as worthless by his own father, with his name literally meaning trash. His murder of Mufasa wasn't just ambition, it was revenge for decades of being made to feel inferior by everyone including his parents. Agent Smith revelation. The Matrix theory that Agent Smith is actually the One, not Neo. Fans argued that Smith exhibits all the prophesied abilities, breaks the rules of the Matrix, and changes other programs, while Neo constantly needs help. The Wachowskis confirmed in DVD commentary for The Matrix Revolutions that Smith and Neo are two halves of the same equation. They stated the prophecy was about both of them, not just Neo. Smith represents the negative to Neo's positive, the one's dark reflection. In the films, Smith is shown to be Neo's equal and opposite, able to copy himself infinitely, while Neo brings individuals together. The directors confirmed that Smith breaks free of his programming specifically because of Neo's influence in the first film, making them symbiotic. The final battle isn't hero versus villain, it's the equation balancing itself. The Architect and Oracle represent this duality as well. The theory was creepy because it suggested the machine's version of the One was the virus like Smith, not the human savior. Monsters Inc. Truth, the Monsters Inc. child exploitation theory. Fans realized the entire economy runs on harvesting fear from children who can't consent to being terrorized in their bedrooms at night. The theory suggested this was intentional commentary on child labor and exploitation. Director Pete Docter confirmed in a 2012 interview with Collider that this was exactly the point. He stated they deliberately designed the scare floor to resemble a factory with quotas, management pressure, and workers who don't question the ethics of their job. The monsters aren't villains, they're complicit in a system that traumatizes children for energy. Docter said the revelation that laughter is more powerful represents realizing that exploitation is inefficient compared to genuine positive interaction. The company Monsters Incorporated isn't just a business, it's a metaphor for industries built on harming the vulnerable. Waternoose's willingness to kidnap children reveals what those in power will do when the exploitative system is threatened. Frozen connection theory. The Frozen Tarzan theory. Fans noticed that Frozen was released in 2013 and Tarzan in 1999, but theorized that Elsa and Anna's parents survived their shipwreck and ended up in Africa, where they had Tarzan before being killed by Saber. The timelines didn't match perfectly, but both films featured Disney parents dying at sea. Director Chris Buck confirmed this theory at a 2015 Reddit AMA. He stated he personally likes to think the parents didn't die in the shipwreck, but washed ashore, had Tarzan, built a treehouse, and then faced tragedy. Buck directed both Frozen and Tarzan, making this authorial confirmation rather than fan speculation. He later slightly backtracked, calling it his personal headcanon rather than official, but the statement gave validity to the theory. The creepy element is that Anna and Elsa's grief was based on false assumptions. Their parents suffered for years in the jungle, and they had a brother they never knew existed. Rugrats' dark truth. The Rugrats depression theory. The darkest fan theory suggested that all the babies except Angelica were dead or never born, existing only in her imagination as she processed trauma. Chucky died with his mother, Tommy was a stillbirth, and the DeVille twins were an abortion Angelica's mother discussed. Series creator Arlene Klasky addressed this theory in a 2016 interview with BuzzFeed. She called it horrifying, but acknowledged that the show's unusual perspective, where adults barely interact with babies, and Angelica seems to have powers the babies don't, could support that reading. While she denied it was intentional, Klasky admitted the theory revealed something unintentionally dark about the show's structure. Paul Germain, the other creator, later stated in interviews that Angelica was always meant to be uncertain what's real, and her interactions with babies nobody else validates could be interpreted darkly. The theory persists because the creators never fully denied it, instead expressing discomfort that their show could be read as a child processing death. If you found this valuable, subscribe so you never miss new content. Thanks for watching.